That was Choices that you just heard, another track off my mixtape that is soon to be released.
So everybody's got a song or two on their MP3 player that, you know, if you're playing it at a party and it just came on, you'd be a little embarrassed by. You know, I've got some Criss Cross, I'm sure, on there. Kid-Boy's got some Puff Daddy in the Family, I'm sure, that he wouldn't be too proud of.
No, it's Kenny G.
Kenny G.
Huge Kenny G fan. We talked about it.
Closet Kenny G fan.
Exactly.
Well, he just came out right now.
Exactly.
So let the world know. And so, Katrin, do you have any song that if your friends were to hear it, you'd be a little embarrassed about?
Not really my friends, because my friends know me and know my embarrassing music. But it would probably be, I hate to announce this on the radio, Spice Girls.
Spice Girls, yeah. Spice Up Your Life.
Yeah, it's not just Spice Up Your Life. There's more than one.
Spice Up Your Life was a good track, though.
You know, I'm embarrassed right now. I think we should just end it here right now.
It's over.
Can't compose myself. I'm kind of distraught and flustered, and I'm a brother. I'm turning like into a white guy right now. It's scary. Katrin, if you could go on tour with any artist, band, or group, who would you choose and why?
Right now, who would I choose? I would probably choose J. Cole, if I could choose anybody. He is like my number one. I just love him. Love his music. He's, to me, is kind of like represents what hip hop is and what hip hop kind of used to be. He like brought that back a little bit. So
good answer.
J. Cole is so good. I like J. Cole.
Yeah.
You actually posted this. I actually want to ask you and S this question, and myself. I guess I can answer this. You posted this on your Facebook a couple weeks ago, and you asked, in your opinion, what era do you think? Let me rephrase this. In your opinion, what era do you? I'll let you answer. Go ahead. I can't get the words in my mouth. I don't know why.
Which decade would you say would be sort of a golden era of music? The 50s, 60s, 70s. So, Katrin, what would you say would be the golden era of music?
I think that for me, the 60s and the 90s are the two golden eras of music.
Okay.
I was actually a couple weeks ago with my parents. We were watching the Ed Sullivan Show, and they were playing just like a bunch of clips of different performances. And part of the reason that, I grew up listening to classic rock, like that's what my dad always played. So like the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, the Doors, like that type of thing. So that when you watch the show, you notice how it was really about the music.
Mm-hmm.
Like there wasn't as much other stuff. It was just the voice, right? Like the voices of these people.
Not like
the music.
The gimmicks of
there wasn't really
Lady
as many
Gaga.
gimmicks, It was music. And I think the 90s for me, like that was just the golden age of hip hop to me. So
absolutely.
And I like the 90s right now. There's a lot of artists that I love still in the hip hop scene right now, but the 90s was more like grassroots, I feel like. It wasn't as flashy, and I think that the flashiness came out of that still, like that's what sort of sparked it, but I don't know, like artists like Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. and just people like that, and those guys didn't even see their ultimate potential, right?
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
For myself, now I can finally speak. I would have to say the 1960s and 1930s. 60s, I agree with you. And the reason why I say the 60s, because you had the British invasion, you had the Rolling Stones, you had the Beatles. They had a huge impact in the UK. In the USA, you had...
Motown, too.
Are you reading my answers? You had Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan kind of really emerged as well in the 1960s. Motown, where you had the Jackson 5, the Miracles, the Four Tops, the Temptations, Marvin Gaye. They really put soul music on the map.
Yeah.
And then in Brazil, you had Bossa Nova was really taken off. Brazilian jazz was the main thing, which was amazing. And then in Jamaica, you just had Bob Marley started to emerge as an artist as well. So I say the 1960s for sure. 1930s, the reason I say the 1930s is because of jazz. Jazz started to develop at its roots and its core, and it started to take off. You had big band and the swinger were developed during that time period. And you had a lot of...
Duke Ellington,
Count Basie, Tommy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, and he also had a lot of interracial mixing in bands. Yep. What I mean by that is you had like a lot of black musicians and a lot of white musicians interacting together in a jazz band. So there's a lot of interaction between the races, and that definitely broke a lot of barriers. Mm-hmm. And if you're a country music fan, country music was really taking off in the 1930s. I mean, that's kind of the point where it started to really gain its notoriety and its popularity. So that's my two answers.
I didn't even know that.
How about you, S?
Well, in the 1930s, you know, the radio really brought music to, you know, a wide audience. And I think in just like you were saying, it broke racial barriers, different bands. I think what's happened now with this new technology we have that DJs have access to, they're breaking the genre barriers. Now you can have like Kid Koala, who we played earlier, putting on a jazz loop with getting some funk guitar in there and having somebody you know, put some beats down with it. So these DJs are really breaking down the barriers of all the genres. So you can hear 4 different types of music in one song. And I think so today you could say that it's a golden age in many respects.
Nice. All right, let's get back into the music and
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear. The hour.
Katrin Hodson with Amazing Grace. She took us to church Sunday. It's appropriate. Wow. That's
I
why
spent a lot of time in church when I was young. My mom's listening, so she'll be happy.
Gospel
I can see why
influence.
I can see why you had 49,000 views for that video. That's amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And before that, you heard the Listen remix with Shad featuring Dallas Green of City and Color. We have 4 minutes left in the show, and I just want to say thank you so much to everybody else out there in Radio Land for listening to the show. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to Katrin Hodson for coming in. We really appreciate having you on the show. You've been a delight.
Well, thank you for having me. It was awesome.
And let's hope the Packers can fix up their offensive line for tonight, so J.J. Watt does not break Aaron Rodgers' leg. So go Packers!
Yeah, it's your biggest concern. Make sure you tune in next week, because next week is our big show, our biggest show of the year, Funding Drive. It's gonna be a great show. We have Katrin. We just talked to Katrin. Katrin, you're coming back for Funding Drive.
I am coming back.
Scaffic will be here. Rebecca Don will be here. Lisette Xavier will be here. Benny Johnson will be here. Megan Noel will be here.
Jay Plum
will be here. So 7 amazing people are coming back to help us with this show. We want to say thank you so much for agreeing to come back. And we want you, the listeners, to definitely donate to CJSW and to donate to Off the Map if you can, because we love the support and we love the help. Please, we're just asking you one Sunday of the year to help support the station that you listen to, the best independent radio station in Calgary. Please help support us.
The best radio station, hands down.